welcome to the Things I See podcast. This is episode 13. Thank you so much for everyone who's listening in. Today I have a very awesome guest. She's super well known and beloved in my spiritual community over here in Boise, Idaho. Her name is Cathy Benz. Hi, Cathy.
Hi, Clarity. I'm so glad to be here today. Thank you for inviting me on your podcast.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to have you on. I've never been directly involved in any of your classes or the events you hold except for one event, which I'm very happy I made it to. But the amount of people you end up gathering for these events and the amount of amazing testimonials I've heard from our mutual friend Mitchie and a lot of other lovely people has been awesome to hear. So I want to hear, this is like a stereotypical psychic question. When did it all start for you?
Interesting. I didn't realize that the experiences that I was having as a child were not normal. So having, your ancestors come to you when you're sleeping and tell you things about your family, I didn't know that wasn't just a normal part of growing up. Right? Knowing things about people without being told, having dreams about the future. But I've been deeply empathic since I was from day one, right? And that made me a highly sensitive child, which did not go over well on the playground, right? And made me, I think, a lot more emotional than maybe a typical, maybe somebody who wasn't so sensitive. And so it wasn't until I went to the Berkeley Psychic Institute and actually sat down and started to read and use my clairvoyance, and I would get these huge downloads, these packets of information that I could talk about for hours, and they would just come in a moment. You open up the doorway, you open up the portal, the information comes through, and you have to decode it. It can take hours to decode that download that comes in a minute. That's when I knew, and that's when I started to deconstruct what was happening to me as a child.
Absolutely. And you can't deconstruct it as a child, but it's so cool to be able to go back. And I love what you said about the decoding downloads, because it's almost like the feeling of decoding a download is so specific. It feels like, it's almost like the psychosis going down the rabbit hole, but it's not psychosis. It's just something juicy you get to kind of venture deep into. It's an unraveling.
Yeah, it's an unraveling. It's a mystery. It's a clue. And each clue leads to something else. And you're collaborating that with your client, and they're helping you to what does this mean? I got this symbol. Now what does this symbol mean to you? And then that gives you a little bit more layers on this deeper picture that you're like, it's like writing a book, but it's this place of deep mystery, because it could bring you to a past life, it can bring you to a different timeline, it can bring you into their childhood. It's much better than television, much better than fiction.
Absolutely. Yeah. So from this start of metaphysics for you, what would you say was the gift you started with? Because especially by now, we have a plethora of gifts. We work in such a large field, and the field only gets bigger. It's there's more to learn. What was that first thing that you think came to you, that first per se gift?
I think it was always clairvoyance for me. It was always being able to close my eyes and see images. And then the gifts that go on top of that would be, you start with the vision, and then now you're right? Everything gets layered on top of that. Now I'm hearing my guides, and that's integrating in with emotional information that's coming up. That's integrating in with also knowingness from my higher self, and it becomes this tapestry of tapping into every aspect of your intuition. So it's not just clairvoyance. So that was my first inroad, but then everything layered on top of that and became like, it's like this full body intuition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy to fill out the whole body with intuition, where it can be just so single faceted. Like one crucial experience that I've observed is moving from seeing things to maybe more feeling the things. It was always so easy to see things, right? Like almost too easy. Right. Like as a kid, it's like I should not have been seeing all that. But then actually feeling them without the seeing, the knowing, that is what took so long to develop and so long to like nurture and build. It required a lot of growth to be able to trust in knowing rather than just in what I could see.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I'm teaching my students to do is to trust their intuition. And I consider my classroom a laboratory. So as they're in the lab, right, and they're able to read another person, read their aura, and get that, yes, you're spot on, you've got this, or no, I have no clue what you're talking about, and this isn't me at all. So then they can, and it's a calibration of your intuition, and getting that feedback is really important.
Absolutely. Especially with energy. It's tough with energy because there's always the case someone themselves doesn't know that about themselves. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, being 100%. Able to be a teacher who can, I love being a teacher who can read energy the way I can, because I can see the change, or I can see it didn't work. And I will tell them, hey, it didn't work, or this didn't flow right. But the amount of times whether it's delivering information or it's doing healing that someone says they can't tell, I always have to ask, was that me or was that them? And when it comes to things like tarot, every time someone's like, that's not me at all, every time I ask the tarot and it's like, nope, that was them.
Right.
They just were not ready to face that. And it's like, that's okay.
100%. And just from my experience of being read, there has been oodles of time where I've been read and I've said, nope, this doesn't resonate with me at all. And then I would get in the car and I drive home and I go, oh, okay, yes, all right, I get the connection. Okay. And it will all fall into place. Maybe not in that moment, but when you have time to just sit and digest it, you'll recognize that is exactly what's going on. Besides, what the clairvoyant is doing for you is if they're doing it right, they're bringing things to your conscious mind that you have suppressed, and you may not be aware that is your pattern, and it's hard to hear sometimes.
Yeah, our conscious brain will do everything to make us not hear it. But
exactly,
when someone's good at what they do, they're going to tell it so much how it is, you can't ignore it. And that's the power. Trigger is sometimes the power. But sometimes, you can either trigger them or you can plant a seed that'll trigger them later.
Yes. And how many times do we have our readies, our clients or our students come back to us and say, that it didn't resonate with me at the time, but everything unfolded exactly the way that you predicted.
I've had people tell me it was a year later where it made sense. And it's always that thing where it took so long for me in my healing journey as a healer to accept that I might not ever know if they changed or how I affected them. I just have to trust and put all of my love into planting a seed. The second I'm expecting a result is the second I didn't plant a seed. And I was just trying to make a flower out of nothing. And it's meeting them where they're at. It's letting them do the work. There's so much about planting a seed. And I'm kind of running into that issue again with teaching classes. Understanding that you can plant a seed through all of the classes and they'll still be learning after the classes. Absolutely. Not all of it will maybe click for them right away, but will it click later? I have to trust it will.
Right. Yeah. And there's deeper knowing within every bit of wisdom that you learn. You may hear wisdom and you may get it at a cognitive level. I've had students, one of my students, Tara, she's been in my clairvoyant training program for years, and we probably worked together for 3 years now. And just recently, she said that all these concepts that she's known for 3 years are hitting at such a deeper level as she begins to heal and uncover. It's like a deeper walk with every bit of wisdom. You integrate it more and more. It's such a miracle when you actually hear even words I say. I may be saying a concept for 10 years, right? And one day it will just hit me deeper. Oh my goodness, I have been teaching this. This is profound. Oh my goodness.
Right. When you're the one who walks across it or uses it so much, there's a desensitization to it. And I actually just had that just yesterday. Crazy enough that you bring it up. Since I was before I knew what all of this was, I was able to look in the corners and I'd see these green cobwebs in the corners of everywhere I went. And then after studying feng shui, I know energy doesn't reach the corners. And that kind of doing more psychic work into it, that's where dead energy collects. I call it spiritual debris. So this kind of debris just flows to the corners and gets stuck everywhere. And when it's positive entities, it'll be blue, which is super cool, or maybe even a bit of gold. But just yesterday, I was able to see it as an imprint. So I could tell what was there or who. And it was under the inference that there might be someone stalking me, right? Someone sending out energy to watch or do anything. So I thought, how can I tell if it's them and not just any spirit? And then I realized I can tell.
Wow.
And it's just that thing of I've been doing this since I was 17, so that's 8 years now.
That's amazing. Of
just looking at the corner and being oh, there's ghosts everywhere.
Right.
But now being able to see an imprint, it's it feels so much more profound. And it was only when I reached the deepest point of normalizing it that I was actually ready to take the next step.
Right. Yeah, and in the Course in Miracles, it talks about how we may never see the effects of the miracles that we manifest into the world, but every miracle that we create, there are 10,000 miracles behind each one. Mm-hmm. And behind each one of those is another 10,000 miracles. And that every miracle that we create goes back through time, as all time works with all time, all the time. And we're unraveling back to the beginning of time all the karma that humans have created. And it moves through time. Check this out. It moves through time all the way to the end of time. And the love that we create is kept lovingly in heaven for our return. Right? Mm-hmm. So we're actually creating love each time we're healing, each time we forgive, each time we have joy. We are creating something that as we share it, it grows. And that is kept for us as our creations, which is our true nature, right? Which is love. Isn't that beautiful?
That is so beautiful. I love hearing your take on miracles. That is so profound. And, I always like to tell people, no matter where you are, there's a miracle happening next door. There's a miracle happening right now. You don't know where, but it is always miracling up. There's always miracles. And just the 10,000 to every 10,000 you said, that's just infinite. That's a gazillion miracles all creating this. And I definitely see just the fact I exist as a miracle, not because of my decision to exist, because I exist despite decision. There is no reason
Wow.
for my existence. I just do. And that is so cool. And you can always like say, oh, but this attachment is why, or this attachment. That's just all the things I focus on. It's all miracle.
Yeah, and I love this concept. You brought up a really interesting concept, which is, what did you say? I exist because I do, something like that. I exist despite my decision.
Right. I exist without reason.
I exist without reason. Right.
Yeah.
I love this concept. Like this is gorgeous because as humans, we're always looking for cause. Philosophically, right?
Yeah,
if you're trained as a philosopher, what's the cause? What's the cause? What's
the attachment?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it helps us. We have to create a philosophy about why we exist because we cannot exist without structure. As the ego cannot exist without structure. It needs to know why so it can operate within that construct, right? Mm-hmm. It has to have a construct. And we're not getting rid of our egos anytime soon. Right. They are permanent fixtures as we are embodied within the creation. Mm-hmm. So, but the spirit does not need to ask this question. And when we constantly go, why am I here? Doesn't that sound whiny?
It's the needing an answer. And I always like to say, if you're looking for an answer, you already have the answer. You just don't like it. Like all of the answers that anyone could ever want already exists. It's already in them. It's in their body. It's in their mind. It's in their spirit. Mm-hmm. They just don't like that answer.
Right?
Because it contradicts an attachment.
Oh, I love that. Right.
Yeah.
And this is how we get stuck in mental loops. And this is how we spiral into mm-hmm. our mental loops. We're continuously asking the same question over and over again. And in my teachings, what I teach is that the only reason why you're caught in a mental loop, and I like what you said, you don't like the answer. Well, the answer is always forgiveness and love. Mm-hmm. And so the mental loop is where is the forgiveness? And the way I explain it is it's like a racetrack that's a figure eight, right? And it's a bad figure eight. This is not a good one. You're on the shit show figure eight.
Right,
and
shit show figure eight.
You're walking through everything over and over and over again. This actually leads to insanity, mm-hmm. Mental looping in this way. Because there's an exit, and the exit to get you out of that loop is always either forgiveness of self, forgiveness of circumstances, or forgiveness of somebody else.
Yeah. And
forgiveness is the miracle. It is the forgiveness in the Course in Miracles was the only tool that would lead us back to love, right? That couldn't be used by ego to destroy the journey back to love. It's the only one that cannot be co-opted.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That is so incredible. It really is. And you filled in a blank right there I didn't know needed to be filled in of love and forgiveness. Because it all starts with the question, why? Mm-hmm. When we don't want the answer as to why, it's because we don't want to accept. And that's part of the forgiveness.
Exactly.
And I love that you also use the infinity loop as the symbol instead of the circle, because it feels like a very binary thing where there's the feeling and then there's feeding the feeling. So for one loop, you're feeling it, and then the other loop, you're feeding it. The cycle is something we feed.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's not a single circle of the feeling is causing you this to be that way. It's the feeling and the feeding, and then feeling what you're feeding. And that's such a big thing through just how our brain works. We have the right side and the left side, and there's this constant back and forth where until, if it's one and another, it's still I and them. As soon as it's like 3, for example, then it's we. That's when it's like all. But as soon as it's 2, it's still just you and them. You and them. So we're always in this battle of us and them, the feeling and how we feed it. It's this constant thing that, we imprison ourselves.
I think the catalyst for imprisonment is resistance to acceptance to what is. That's the first step to any healing. You have to break out of that resistance, because the resistance will suppress the emotions, repress the emotions, right? And keep you in an alternate reality, which is a fearful reality. Mm-hmm. And when you want to step into healing and growth, it is a surrender. And the surrender causes people to go into grief, to go into regret. That's almost the first step of surrender. And that's the scary step that keeps us from, it's what I call the fiery door. There's the fiery door of surrender into reality, into what is, into acceptance. And that fiery door is momentarily painful. And we're a pain avoidant, mammals. Like here's pain, I'm going the other way. And I've seen so many of my students and clients that will hit the wall of, I'm resisting, I don't want to feel that. Oh, and then they hit another one. Oh, I don't want to feel that. Oh, I don't want to feel that. And they're like literally going in a circle, and they're in their loop now, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting because the loop is so big, they don't know they're in a loop. Because it's this one thing at a time of not this one, not this one, not this one. And it just goes back to the same cycle eventually.
And where's the exit?
Right.
Like, where's the exit to this cycle? And the exit is, I am going to feel the pain of whatever comes up when I step into surrender. And that requires us to be courageous and to not be afraid of our feelings, and create a completely different relationship with our feelings, that they are here to protect us. They are here biologically, and we have been built for our emotions to tell us where we are out of alignment with love. That's it. You're either having a good feeling, alignment with love, peace, joy, right? Happiness, playfulness. We are eating those up. Like that's coming to us, and we're like, give me some more of that beautiful love energy. And we process through it really quickly. Well, that was good, now I need more. But when we hit the negative emotion, then we're suppressing, and then it's going under the surface, and it's driving into our nervous system, our organs, our mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the way it affects the whole body. If it affects one area, that energy reaches the areas of everywhere else. I love that you brought up the relationship with the feelings and how it takes courage, right? We're going to have fear. We're going to have the bad feelings. I want to even work on developing an entire strategy within therapy about this, but the idea is befriend everything.
Yes.
Every single thing should be your friend. Everything is your friend.
Yes.
Even something that's out to get you. If a friend was out to get me, I'd punch him for defense, but with love.
But think about this, for myself, walking without fear, that's my goal, right? To walk through life without fear, no matter what is happening. But if I say this to somebody who doesn't have trust in the universe, that the universe is love, the universe is, all it is really love, right?
Right.
That's what's eternal. Love was what came from source, which is encoded in every photon of light, and which is what created my body. And it's all one photon of light, fractalized into everything that we see.
Yeah.
This is part of the concept of oneness. But okay, if I can't wrap my head around this high concept, and somebody is coming after me, then it's hard to convince that person that who hasn't done a lot of introspective work, that you should love in that moment, you should accept in that moment, you should find compassion in that moment, and befriend it. It takes a minute. That is a high level, and that's exactly where we need to be, and I commend you on that. That is beautiful teaching.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. And I wanted to ask you the question, when it comes to resistance, how have you befriended resistance in your life? Or what are some moments where you've befriended your resistance?
For me, resistance as a highly emotional empath. So I say, okay, if you remember, there was a movie called This Is Spinal Tap or Spinal Tap. I don't know. It's old now. I'm sorry for the old reference. I'm so sorry. But they're a garage band, and it was like documentary style, but it was like really funny. And so they have, one guy has a speaker, right? And they say, how like, how loud is your speaker? And he goes, well, you see, my speaker goes up to 11. And he goes, and the guy said, the interviewer's like, why don't you just make 10 louder? And it can go up to 10. And he goes, but mine goes to 11. I got to get this clip and play it because it's freaking hilarious. That's my emotional landscape, right?
Yeah.
My emotional landscape is 11 all the time, right? So for me, it became a necessity to be able to befriend my emotions and release my resistance to them, because if I didn't, it was literally going to destroy me. So when we have people with lower emotional, I say volume, like some people are at like a 1.
That's such a good way to put it, by the way. Volume.
Right?
I love that.
Yeah. Right. So an emotional volume of 1, this person is very unhealthy because their brain isn't wired to their emotions. Right. And now as an empath, highly sensitive person, mine is overwired. So everything that arises within me, this is where my gifts come from as well.
Right.
Because everything is so loud within me, and I've befriended it, and I can listen to it, and there's information, right, within each emotion that comes up. It's good or bad. It feels great, or it doesn't. But if I didn't befriend my emotions, I would have been destroyed. I would be in the padded room. I would not be out in the world living my ascended life.
I would be schizophrenic in a padded cell somewhere if I didn't befriend my resistance.
I'd be with you. We'd be roommates. Right?
We would get along so well. Too.
We really would.
It would be so great. This is a really interesting question. So, especially through the healing journey, there can be sometimes this highlight at some point of the journey to focus on the befriending the bad and like getting through the shadow. Was there any point where you you befriended all the bad and you had to learn how to befriend the good? Like,
oh my God, I'm there now.
Yeah, I am too. Oh my goodness.
This is exactly where I'm at right now. I was in a highly chaotic, abusive, gaslighting, narcissistic relationship because every empath is issued at least one narcissist.
At least, minimum. Depends on how well you learn.
Right. So as children, okay, what was the question again? Sorry.
It was, what good emotions have you had to learn to befriend?
So after having gone through that, and to survive drove me deeper into my spiritual practice. So every single day I was an hour a day clearing my space, right? Or I wasn't going to survive that marriage, right? And that time of my life. So now, after 5 years of being out of that situation, I really cleared so much negative energy through deep healing work, many, many modalities that I brought in to bring me to where I am today. And so I have this happiness retreat. This is a great example. So I have this happiness retreat and up in Garden Valley a few months ago. And everything was a miracle. Everything was a miracle. The way people came together, the way the group melded together, the way the practitioners that I brought in and the miracles that they were creating, the way that the people within the group were healing each other and supporting each other and connecting. the group energy, I'm getting chills just talking about it. It was so beautiful. And people were coming up to me every 5 minutes and going, "You're amazing. I love you. This is awesome." And I was like, I have reached my limit of what I can receive in love. And this is actually where I'm at right now. So it's a very intuitive question for you to ask, because what I'm recognizing is that after having worked through so much trauma, and now my nervous system is regulated, like, what's that about? You know?
Yeah, wait. It's supposed to feel not like chaos,
right? It's supposed to not be chaos. So I'm in this like nicely regulated nervous system, and the next step goes, open your heart, right? This is what the Pleiadians, this is what my guides are talking to me about. They're saying, you worked your crown chakra, so I can hold lots of students, space. I can hold the energy for many, many students, and a big community. But it's my heart that's lagging behind to receive the amount of love that the students give to us. Like, we think we're giving, all I want to do is give love, right?
Right.
The empath, right? We want to give love. We want to support people. We want to see them do well. And when they do, they turn around and give it back to you. It's like, whoa.
I've been getting a very divine message from people of I believe in your work. Or they'll when they say, I value your work, stuff like that. It's like, wow, thank you for telling me. And now I need to accept what you just told me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think about how an empath is made. An empath, and this is the way I see it, right? The way I see it is that you have usually a highly toxic environment. Usually we've got our narcissistic types as either a mother, a father, or both. And if you are really well wired with lots of mirror neurons in your brain, like physically, then you're going to go towards empath. And you're managing, what you do is you create a lot of extra neurons and body being communication so that you can manage and be aware of every single person's emotion in that room, so that you can preempt, so that you can manage the adults around you, right? Or you end up as the narcissist who shuts down completely, and that's how they survive.
Right. It's all for the sake of survival. And that's something that I used to be like a little soft about, but I'm pretty open about saying it. Empathy is a survival response. And I'm only so open about it now because it's such a core part of how I teach people to keep themselves safe, right? If we have we have the electromagnetic aura, and then we have the sensory aura. If your aura is 100 feet out and you're getting overstimulated, that's why.
Yep.
So I have to tell them, hey, this is a trained survival response, but knowing what's going on 100 feet away isn't going to keep you safe or healthy.
Especially at a grocery store.
Oh my God.
How many times, right? How many times have I gotten calls from my students who are having panic attacks in the vitamin aisle, right? I did. And she's calling me and she's like, what I really need is this one thing. And I'd be like, okay, I'm walking her through it, right? And I was able to get her grounded and then help her to pull her aura in exactly what you're talking about. So this is a universal problem for empathic, highly sensitive people, right?
I honestly love the grocery store now. Every time I'm overstimulated, I pull in my aura and I feel better. It's like magic every time. And I've done it for over a year now, where my body does it automatically usually. Unless it's really distressed.
Right.
My body auto-regulates. But I want to hear, what are some of your ways you, do you do meditation to bring your aura in? Or do you, because I've just commanded it before.
Yeah. But
what's your go-to for teaching others?
Well, we start with grounding, right? And the grounding, this is actually a little bigger of a story here, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So back in when I started working with the Berkeley Psychic Institute and I was doing my studies there, I was there for 15 years. Grounding was what we did first, foremost, every single time. Now, we're not just connecting to the earth below us. We're connecting, it's deep earth grounding. So we're connecting to the core of Mother Gaia. In 2012, my Pleiadian guides came to me and they took me on a little journey, as they do, right?
Right.
And so they brought me out to the outside of the of Mother Gaia, out into space, right? And they were showing me the repair work being done on the crystalline grid. And so there's all these star beings, there's angelic forces, Pleiadians, Syrians, Lyrians, Blue Avians, like everybody was out there. All the call to Mother Gaia was there. And so the crystalline grid is part of her magnetic field. And so around the center of the planet, you have not an iron core, you have a plasma core. The plasma core is like the sun itself. So that's going to be your life force. That's going to be your kundalini energy, right? And around that is the crystalline ascension grid, right? So what we're doing is we're tapping into now with our grounding. And I know it's psychic protection, but being grounded is the number one thing that you need to do to decrease your anxiety. Because it embodies you, right? It pulls your higher self in, and it gives your body a way to actually let go, to release, and to let the energy flow freely through your aura field so you don't get stuck.
Absolutely.
And I threw a plug in there for the crystalline grid. Ascension frequency.
Just throwing that in there real quick.
Because I know your people are ready to ascend.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And that's one of the coolest ebb and flow balances I always like to find, where there's ascension, but sometimes the ascension is the grounding. Like where it's such a big thing where I there's this trend I notice where people want more awakening, but it's more of looking for the answer they already have, right? They want more of that why. And I find that people will imprison themselves to set themselves free again, to imprison themselves again. Right. And the way we escape that is through grounding, the integration, the embodiment, the becoming, the making it happen, making it real.
Right. Well, think about that being in a grocery store and you get anxious. You're actually launched out of your space, right? You're not fully present in that moment. Right. The grounding brings you into presence, right? So you want to really connect, and it helps you connect to your body because you're thinking about your root, right? Your root chakra. And as you do that, your consciousness is coming back to your body and your awareness. So rooting is really important. Deep earth grounding, I highly recommend for those on an ascension path, right? And then I set up energetic, what we use roses in my practice, and that's changing a little bit to where the next level of that would be working with the symbols of angels. So I work a lot with archangels as well. But roses, one in front, one to the left, one to the right, one behind, one above, one below, right? And this tells you put it at the edge of your aura. So if you start looking for your rose and it's not there, your aura is 100 feet away. Right? Pull it on in, girl, right?
That is a really, really cool way to visualize the aura, especially with roses. It's very grounded and earthy. And yeah, I love that. My favorite strategy for it, that's the thing. This doesn't always work with everyone. And it's still easy to let it slip after this, especially for human design projector types. Those people love giving away their peace. They love not holding their peace. They love giving all of their everything away. 100%, oh my goodness.
100%.
But I love it because it's just with the hands. I just imagine my arms stretching out to the boundaries and I just pull it in and I pack and I can feel the moment it to the body. It goes.
Well, think how open you are when your aura is as big as the room. Everybody's walking into your aura, right? So my stepdad, he's a really nice guy, but he gets really anxious when people are in his home. He's retired and he's at home all the time. And it just occurred to me, I think it was like last Thanksgiving, that he gets really anxious when people are in his house because guess exactly how big his aura is.
The exact, to the corner, exact size.
To the corner of that house, right? Yeah. So anytime anybody's in his home, they're actually in his aura, right? And how would that feel to me if somebody was in my aura?
Oh, it never feels good.
Right? So when he starts... how do I want to say it? When he starts getting anxious, I used to really resist that when I was younger, before I had tools. Now I have an enormous amount of compassion for him because I understand.
Absolutely.
Right? What's going on from his perspective.
Yeah. And I just had this realization too, with a bigger aura, technically you're connecting to more things, but that's what makes us disconnect. We detach when we overconnect. Ooh. So there's this constant interplay of a lot of empaths have this negative relationship with connection and grounding because their only association to connection and grounding is the whole grocery store all at once. And how important it is to be able to manage. And that's why I love teaching. It's because my life is... Like, I used to live constantly in chaos. I would always ask why. Oh, everything's going wrong. But I have such a steady, stable mind. It still runs fast. But I love that it runs fast now. It's not so out of it. And again, it's like I'm also in the same part of my journey as you are with learning to befriend the good emotions. Because you can do everything up to the point of actually accepting it, where you can bring your aura in, you can connect to yourself, you can connect to the earth, you can connect to the air, and then it's connecting to what other people have to give you. And it's like,
right.
Oh, right, I'm supposed to accept this.
Ooh,
and then,
I love that.
Yeah, and it's so cool with the healing journey to do everything up to that point. But then it's that final push of, are you going to accept it?
So, you know what I'm taking away from this conversation, which I think is really beautiful, is that to be on the ascension path, and to be on a healing path, we need to surrender. We have to surrender, but surrendering has a bad connotation. The connotation is that somehow the white flag, I give up to something, to defeat, right? But what we're saying is surrendering into the reality that everything is love. And what is not love is not real and part of the illusion. Right. This is not the easiest, it's easy to think about, but it's hard to embody.
So hard to embody. Or even to see, like, I only started believing this after I did past life work, but the idea that everything is love and it's an illusion when you look too close at it. Like, when you see this, like, death in a lifetime, it's tragic. It's sad. When you look at the 10 lifetimes around it, you can see why it happened, and you can see how it's affecting the soul and how it's becoming more love through it. Where the most hateful, vile person in the world right now, if they don't live that life, they will never eventually become love. So all of the stuff that is not love is just what we're perceiving as not love, but it is love. It's just love beyond how we know it, because love isn't attachment, it's detachment.
Wow.
We want love to be attachment.
Well, the attachment of human beings, right? The attachment styles that we've been taught what is a relationship is actually ownership. It is,
it's care, but
it can be care.
Right.
It should be care. Yeah. But what it is attachment, jealousy. There's all
the
of
ownership, especially.
Ownership.
That's the word.
It's not love.
Yeah.
When I own somebody because I love them.
It's a condition.
That's not love. That is a completely different thing.
It's conditional love, which isn't love. Love is unconditional, which is why the only way unconditional love can exist is detachment. And I love the line, if you love me, let me go. Or like, the greatest act of love is freedom.
Right.
It's because love is detachment.
This is also keying in on something else as well, which is, why is it hard for us to love ourselves? Because we've been taught that love is these expectations and it is control. So when we let it go for other people, but I think the last part of the empath journey is to let go of control and judgment towards ourselves.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It all starts with us. Like, I love telling clients, the only person you have to forgive is yourself, but you'll notice you'll want to forgive others when you forgive yourself.
Wow.
I tell people, don't even think about forgiving others. The one person you have to forgive is yourself.
Yep.
And you will want to forgive others if you forgive yourself.
100%. 100%. It's the only way.
It's the only way. And again, I love how you filled in the blank of saying love and forgiveness is that answer to why. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you need to learn to love and forgive. It's like that.
One thing I didn't say, which is important, which is if the only thing that's real is what is eternal, unchanging, and steady, that is love. Love existed before time, before the universe, before what we see as creation, right? Love existed before that. So we're in a parenthesis of time, right? We moved from love into time and space-time. And at some point, it may collapse, right? And go away. And then we'll be back into eternity. And what was steady was the love that flowed through it. So the fear that we feel is only within space-time. That's why it's not real.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Right? It's just that, like, it's an easy thing to visualize that can help you to understand why love is real. Yeah. Just saying love is real and everything else isn't, I don't think is enough.
It isn't.
Right? You need to have something to go, oh, love is unchanging. Love is the source of everything.
If it is unconditional, it hasn't changed. It has always been.
Exactly.
And it always has been everything.
Exactly.
I love how you put it with the photons. All of this singular photon that's scattered everywhere is just, that is what love is. And it's everywhere. You can't escape it. Mm-hmm. It's everywhere. It's touching you. Gross. Yeah. So this has been so awesome. I do want to make some space, though, to talk a bit about this one offering you do for work. I've heard you lightly talk about it, and it did not give me nearly enough information to fully understand what you're talking about, but it has to do with crystallizing the chakra. So I've had a lot of energetic upgrades to the energy body. I've helped other people with certain energetic upgrades where there's like these gifts from divine source, but you have something really special, it sounds like.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'll try to make it a little bit short because there's we're kind of running out of time here.
Will there be more information like on your website by chance?
Chakra healing and upgrade class is a must do if you're on the ascension path, right? The awakening path. So quickly, what happened to me was after 15 years of running high frequency energy through my body, my third chakra went into an enormous amount of pain and stayed that way for 2 years. I did everything I could. At some point, I couldn't even swallow. It was very difficult. It became a physical ailment. And and guess what? Oh my God, this is funny because this is perfect part of this conversation. One day I surrendered. Right? One day I was like, I give it up. I prayed, right? I prayed. I was like, I give it up to my guides. I give it up to source. I can't solve this. And I was in pain every single day. So in a deep meditation, one of my guides came to me and they said, come with me. And I was like, well, okay, I trust you. Where are we going? So we end up in this like beautiful angelic space, and out of this, like, it was almost like this crystal that came out of this panel, and there were these beautiful crystalline chakras in there, like a whole set of like gorgeous crystalline chakras. And my guide takes the third chakra and installs it immediately into my third, right? This crystalline third chakra into my third chakra. And I immediately had relief. And it has never come up again, ever. It was the answer. And he whispered to me, your chakra was not broken. It was insufficient for the amount of energy you run in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And I was like,
yeah.
What? So what you're trying to tell me is I got the Walmart $9.99 toaster, right? Chakras installed at birth. And now I'm trying to run, this like high speed energy, crystalline energy, and all of this ascension frequencies. And my chakras needed to be upgraded. And with that comes the 12-strand DNA, right? And 12-strand DNA is necessary to actually anchor in that chakra and supply it with enough energy to be able to run higher frequency chakras.
Right.
Isn't that cool?
That is super cool. And when you say 12-strand DNA, can you give more information on that?
Sure. You retain your 2 physical strands, right? And then you have 10 etheric strands. And so they're always there sort of on a subtle level, but you have to activate them. And so once you activate them, what they do is they act like energy packs where they're holding light to be able to and you can use that to run your crystalline chakras. You can use that to heal. They have to heal your physical body, keep you young. Let me tell you, girl, I am much older than I look. Everybody says to me, but you have such young energy. And I'm like, yes, this is what happens when you upgrade to the crystalline frequency, is your DNA repairs itself.
Right. One of my friends always called it the energetic glow, where like there will be like 80 to 90-year-old yogis. Yes. They look young. It's like they're more fit than I am. And it's like, what?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. I didn't know what the 12
Isn't
strand
it exciting?
thing
I'm just like bouncing in my chair because this has been exciting me. Okay, so the reason why I did the class is because there were 6 other chakras that I didn't get in that moment. I kind of grabbed for them. I got a little greedy.
Right.
I was like, give me those. And then the thing goes back down in the panel. And he's like, And I was like, I must create a class and give this away. And that's how I created it.
Awesome. That is fantastic. It really makes me think back to some of my own energy body journey where like I've had these moments where my energy body could just not keep up.
Yes.
It's like it blasts open something new. It like forces it into existence. And this really weird one, I have like energy centers on like the side of my body right here. And it's so interesting because it's just, they hold so much energy. And there's normally channels right here. I call them the secrets channels. It's where we hold vulnerability, our ability to trust people, some of our secrets, because we can hide them with our arms. Oh. But it like having centers there always like pushes my arms out. It opens me up. It's pushing me open in a way that is hard to explain. And I've never had a direct comparison to it, but I could imagine that feeling of being blasted open is very similar. And one thing I also want to talk about is there's this thing I see in a lot of, it's always veteran psychics, right? People who've been doing this for a while. I'm not sure if they know that this is how I see it. So how I see the energy body is rather than all the energy running through this meridian, through here I see a crown halo. So like it's a halo and these channels go on the right and left side of the brain.
I love that.
And when I see people, there's this crystallization that can happen of this crown halo where crystals form and it forms like an actual crown or like a tiara kind of look around their head. And it's so cool because part of my class is I specifically open that up for people. I crystallize the crown chakra, but I have such little. I wish I had more words to put into it aside from.
Right.
I bring people to this I bring people through a portal, and I do a laying on of hands with all these people to open this up, and it looks crystallized after. Wow. That's all I know.
Yes.
So hearing your description of this happens this way from this source to do this is really helping me put some more pieces together a bit too on how mine might work.
Right. And one thing to know is that all this information is contained in your Akashic records. Mm-hmm. And some of it is in some, what I call the deep Akashic record fields. So some people will have it in their local Akashic record field. So I take them on a journey to the deep Akashic record fields in the angelic realm, mm-hmm. To the hall of souls. And we go into our most deepest, what would you call it? Like the where all of our everything is stored, right? Yeah. And that's where we receive our upgrades, and then we bring them back, and we work with our Akashic record keeper to install each and every one of them. Gotcha. So we're kind of like tapping into, because your Akashic record keeper, I actually use my Akashic record keeper more than I try to heal myself now.
That's so interesting to hear.
Akashic record keeper can do everything. You can say, Akashic record keeper, I feel like my third chakra is, got cords in it. Can you remove them? And they will.
Cool.
I need to rebuild my emotional body. They do. And you don't have to sit there and do all of the like extra mental labor, and you don't have to do it yourself. Uh-huh. And when I'm working with clients, I activate their Akashic record keeper, and I have their Akashic record keeper do the healings now.
That is something I should definitely look into, because I love how big the Akashic Records is, because when you just call it a library, it's like, oh, it's just like, you think like a few halls of shelves. No, there's like a different building for every different type of record. Like when I look for people's soul contracts, it's like this cool circular building with a dome, and it's so many filing cabinets. Oh my, like just the sounds of the library are so good. But I've never gotten in contact with the record keeper.
Oh my goodness!
I've only just looked through the hallways, right? And like it's so many different buildings in one library.
And I liked it, and you can also call it the Akashic Record Angel too. Okay. And it's an aspect of ourselves that is a part of our higher self, right? That specific. It's almost like having an organ. So I liken it to having, you have a liver and you have a heart, right? And you have an Akashic Record Angel aspect of yourself. So it is part of your own individual complex.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
That is super duper cool. Okay.
I get all excited. I'm bouncing. I bounce again, right?
Akashic Records is so fun to talk about.
It is. Like, we should talk again, because
yes.
I could just tell you, and I can go, like, we can go everywhere.
Right. No, we've covered so much just within this one episode. And
surrender. I feel like this is really the theme for me for today, is just surrender into love. Surrender your grievances.
Reminder to surrender.
Surrender into your emotions.
Always needed reminder.
Yeah.
One final thing I want to bring up. So I think I've only lightly talked to you about the way I view chakras and go through the chakra system, but I've been doing some work with someone who is a level 3 Reiki master. So like they teach people, they attune them. And I'm working out something with them along the lines of attuning all of the chakra centers aside from just the 7. So some of the big ones would, instead of doing just the solar plexus, you would also do the right and left adrenal glands separately.
I love that.
You would do the sacrum in the back and the sacral in the front, with the sacral being more bladder, sacrum being more the way we pump energy up the spine.
Oh, nice.
And then the perineum, but then also leg centers, the heart and the liver, the thymus and the throat and the back throat, the crown, the star, and the third eye. And then I also want to see if I can do it to my physical eyes.
Nice.
Do like full attunement to my physical eyes. So I'm hopefully coming across something really big here with doing, and that's part of the reason I've been doing the crown ascensions, I guess. I don't know the word for it. Is because that's something within my field that I was individually, intuitively guided to do.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to find the way to extend that to the full body, the physical body, the spiritual body, just instead of just the 7, how specific can we get? Especially getting to like the ears. I find energy tends to, instead of going up the back of the skull, a lot of energy routes to the ears and the eyes because we're constantly pouring energy through those. So there's these huge channels here. So what if we can attune the ears and the eyes as well as the third eye?
I love that.
So it's all experimental, but I just wanted to put that in your ballpark too.
This is what I tell my students. Actually, I don't tell them. This is my laboratory, right? So when you're having your classes are your laboratory. And I will have a dream or I'll have an inspiration or a moment. And I bring it into the class and I see how it lands, right? And then that's my feedback.
Right.
Because then I can't break them, right?
right.
Mainly because I'm teaching them how to heal themselves so fast, right? You can't really break them, but then you could see and you'll get a deeper understanding because when we're thinking about it for ourselves, that's one thing. But when we're actually bringing it into action and watching the energy, that's when you get your feedback, and that's where everything comes together really tight. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh, and don't forget the Ultra Major chakra, otherwise known as the Mouth of God chakra. Have you heard of it? It's so cool. I teach it in my chakra class. It's at the base of the skull. So if you take your fingers and walk down the skull until you find the hollow area. Yeah. This chakra, it's correlated with the 5th chakra, but it's attached directly into the brainstem. So if you're jumping timelines, Ultra Major, right? Okay. You move your connection, your Ultra Major, to a new timeline.
And it's so interesting you bring that up because I have something, or I believe to have something called a Chiari malformation. Mm-hmm. And it's specifically the enlarging of the brainstem down here it'll start to push in the back of the skull. Mm-hmm. I've totally wondered what the energetic is behind it, and me not being able to feel that center just tells me that it's turned off. So it's telling me maybe I could explore something in here that could change some of the physical symptoms of what I'm experiencing. Right. And it's interesting too, because it feels like it is the exact same distance above the back throat center as the thymus is below the front throat center. So I wonder, it's just beautifully measured out, a perfect half hand length.
Sacred geometry of the body.
Yeah. It's all measured so well. It's lovely. Mm. Do you know what kind of somatic things are held in Ultra Major?
I don't know about the somatics of it, more the energetics of it. Mm-hmm. So, in your Ultra Major, that is a place. Oh, here's something. This might be something to think about too, which is if you are channeling beings, a lot of time they'll plug into the Ultra Major, and that helps them to control voice. Right. Okay. So if you've been channeling, you might want to make sure that all their energy's been removed. And I would actually recommend meeting your Akashic Record Keeper, right? And asking them to rebuild it.
Okay.
From the ground up.
I will do that. Absolutely. Yeah, because of course I want to be I'll do it. Yeah, I'll just ask them. But I need to venture that way anyways. Okay.
So for me, if you want to get a hold of me, you can jump onto Facebook, and I'm at Divine Spirit. I have a Facebook group called Divine Spirit Healing Center, and I'm there all the time. I'm in there every single day, answering questions, providing value, And I list everything I do on there, so it's really easy to get a hold of me. Cathy Benz and Divine Spirit Healing Center Facebook group is probably the best way to just come and join.
Awesome.
Befriend me. I'm very friendly.
I definitely check out what she does. She has put a lot of love and time and energy into what she does. This is honestly one of my favorite podcasts I've recorded.
Yay!
We could talk for hours more. Oh my God. So we are going to cut it off here, but definitely check her out at Cathy Benz. What was Divine Spirit
Healing Center.com. And I will have another chakra healing class coming up in August.
Woo! Definitely go check it out.
Chakra healing upgrade, chakra healing.
All of those links will also be in the description. And until the next episode, thank you everyone for tuning in and have a lovely day.
Thank you guys.
Bye.